An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teaching. In Buddhism, when Zen practitioners share their understanding of the teachings and practice, it is done as a practice of dana paramita. Dana is a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, and this is done without the expectation of anything when the opportunity arises. And those who share their understanding of the teachings at Great Tree do so on a dana basis, so please support their practice by giving what you can. So you can go to the Great Tree website where there's a donate button and then make a note that for today, it's for Genjo. So I'm very excited to introduce our speaker today, Reverend Tre Genjo Williams, who is a student of Teijo Munnich in the Jikai Dainin Katagiri Roshi lineage of Zen Buddhism. He recently practiced at Kotaiji, a training monastery in Nagasaki, Japan, and Toshoji, a training monastery in Yakage, Japan, where he spent 9 months. And he currently lives in Asheville and continues his practice with the Zen Center of Asheville and Great Tree. And he's freshly from Japan, and I think also from Hawaii briefly. So welcome back, Genjo.
Thank you for the introduction. And I guess good morning again. Yeah, it's back at Great Tree for the first time in a little bit, and yeah, it's nice to be back. Still, like I said, just landing here, feel like, and but really just grateful to get to be here and to share and to just be here. You know, I've been doing my best to I guess make sense of my monastic experience in Japan, and you know, I'm being asked by others and myself, you know, what was that? You know, what is that? What for what? You know, what did I get? What did I learn about myself, about the practice, about all of this? And you know, I don't know. Just to get that out of the way. clearly. And you know, in that, you know, I'm noticing how much I want to know, you know, how much I want to be able to put words to it and capture it, you know, and to understand it. And, you know, I'm realizing too, not just now, but, you know, just throughout, you know, my time there, how much I just do that with life. You know, I try to just grasp and grab, and I want to know this, you know, I want to put it in my hand and hold on to it, and be able to describe it and say, this is what it is. And how much I think I do a lot of times. I think I do know what this is all about. You know, I practice for a little bit, and I sit and I study and I read, and I got a couple degrees, and all of this is just feeding this delusion that I think I know. You know, how I pretend to know, because I want to know, and I just don't. I really don't. And yes, I have a slideshow to kind of I have some pictures I'd like to share. You know, it's just to share, because I want to share this experience with y'all and talk about it. And so I will attempt to share my screen here. Okay, looks like the request has been sent. Okay, just a moment here, I lost it. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Y'all, can y'all see this? It's a black background with a white. You can see it. Okay, thank you. Further nods. And whoops. Okay, it's still sharing, and y'all can still, everybody can still hear me. Yeah, I was preparing for this talk, and for me, it's the easy part is coming up with a like a clever title, but then I don't have anything to back it up. But so life in the sacred womb comes from this text, the Kikyomon, which is a text written by my Japanese pronunciation is okay, but my Chinese pronunciation is not very good. So the author's Japanese name is Choro Sosaku. He was a Chinese Chan practitioner, and he wrote this Kikyomon that was translated by Reverend Reiho, who I got to meet at Kotaiji. I was there for a few weeks, for about 3 weeks. And this text was with me throughout Toshoji. And at one point, it's written in the text, practitioners will find nourishment and grow in the sacred womb of the monastery. And this text also kind of jumped out at me, this whole text in general, because just before going to Japan, we were doing a mini practice period here at Great Truth. And we were reading the testament of Keizan Zenji, who's one of the founders, considered to be one of the founders of Soto Zen. And in that text, he mentions this Kikyomon. Kikyomon is translated into English as tortoise shell mirror, or the standard of the tortoise shell mirror. And I remember having a fun conversation and kind of, imagining about what that is, what is a tortoise shell mirror, and coming up with different ideas. And so one interpretation is that it means it's a standard, or kind of a standard to which other things can be kind of evaluated in some way, in a kind of relative way. And so, yeah, this text kind of jumped out at me. And I don't know really what this all is, and what the monastery, what being in that space is. But I trust this piece here. This practitioners will find nourishment and grow in the sacred womb of the monastery. And that was my sense, of being there, is that there was a particular type of nourishment that's there, and that's everywhere, but it's almost like concentrated there in a way. Was the sense that I got. And just like being in a womb, I don't remember being in my mother's womb really well, but I know, or really at all, but I know you're just there. You don't do anything, right? We don't do anything. We're just there, and we receive the nourishment from our mother and from life. And think the monastery is no different. Wherever you are is no different. You don't have to go to the monastery to experience that. And yeah, I went there. I'm back here. And so I'm going to talk about being there as best as I can, and share some photos. So here's Toshoji, and this is taken from, yeah, this is kind of a corner view, and this was taken by my friend Keigo-san, who was a Japanese monk there. One of my first roommates. He had just graduated university with a degree in photography, and so there are going to be a few of his photos throughout. It's a really, really nice eye, really captured some beautiful shots. And so here's Toshoji, where I practiced for 9 months. And here's a different view. Keigo-san took both of these as well. And so here I am, arriving to Toshoji. This is the mountain gate, the Sanmon. And so every temple, every monastery there has a mountain gate that you step through. You step across that threshold, and now you're in the sacred womb. And so when you first arrive, you don't just barge in. There's a wooden han, a mopan, there kind of to my left, to the left if you're facing in, and you knock 3 times. And sometimes you yell something, there's a set phrase, but I didn't notice. I knocked really loud, to let them know I'm here. And I had just walked 30 minutes from the nearest train station. And remember, I hadn't eaten anything, and there was a little cafe about 10-minute walk from the monastery. And I stopped there, and I was starving. This was about 3. They said you arrive around 3, so hadn't eaten anything yet that day, and was walking there with all my bags, and stopped there and had some coffee, which was the wrong idea. So I had nothing in my body, and it's 3 o'clock. I'm sensitive to caffeine. And I had a piece of strawberry cake. Then I had another piece of strawberry cake. And so I got here, and I'm like, I'm feeling all some type of way in my body. And so I knock, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And not that much time had passed, but it felt like a long time. And so I was waiting off to the side, and then I stepped directly in front here where you see me now. Because I was like, I'm here, y'all are gonna see me, like, come get me, like, what are y'all doing? Maybe they didn't realize, somebody had come, so I made sure to be right in center. Somon-san, who's an Italian monk, is an Italian monk and a disciple of the abbot of Toshoji. He came and got me. He was what's called my koso, so he was kind of my guide and my mentor for my first couple days and throughout my time at the monastery. But for the first few days, you're in a room by yourself, to help you and I think the monastery as well become acclimated, so we can start to get acclimated to each other. And you're only interacting with your koso, in my case, Somon-san. And really wonderful, nice, gentle guy. Worked in the mental health field in Italy, and we had some common Italian ancestry and being in the mental health field. And so he takes me in and takes me to the room. And stepping across that threshold, you can feel it was like stepping into a pressure cooker in a way. Like there's something about just stepping across there that things felt different, like condensed maybe, or concentrated, not quite sure. And so there we go. And so this is the other side. And so this is taken, and I took this not long after I arrived, so it's still pretty much winter and very cold. And yeah, so this is if you had stepped through the mountain gate and now you're looking into the temple grounds. And so straight ahead is the Buddha Hall. And to the right of to the left of the screen is the meditation hall. And to the right is what we call the Kuin, which is the dining multi-purpose area and the office space. This is another view that so Keigo-san took this picture, and this was taken from the upper level of the mountain gate, and so you could climb up, and there was another level, and there was a small room. And this is in the Sanmon, in the mountain gate. There was a small room, and in that room were housed 16 arhats. And so about once a month we would climb up there and we would squeeze as many as we could into the room and do a ceremony in honor of the arhats. And so Keigo-san must have been hanging out and took this picture. This is on a Sanpachi day. And so in the monastery there, it was all, the schedule was by the number of the day, not so much the name of the weekday, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And so on days with 4 and 9 in them were considered rest days, and didn't always get to rest. In fact, we rarely rested on those days because things came up, as they do. Come up. But the day before, on days with 3 and 8, are called sanpachi. And so we do a little bit of a deeper cleaning. And usually we take all the cushions out of the temple and air them out and let them get some fresh air, let them breathe a little bit. And so this was a sanpachi day, and we had just taken all these out. And so here is the hallway leading to, straight on is the outside portion of the meditation hall. So there's kind of an inner room and then outer halls on each side. And you can see the taiko drum there. And when we here to the right, we've got these bamboo hats that are part of what you use when you're traveling as a monk or as a nun, as an ordained person. And you can see all the way on the end, just barely, there's Teijo's. Yeah, hung up. Yeah. And so on the other side of this wall is the men's dormitory, the men's rooms. So there's a big room that could be separated into 4 separate rooms using sliding doors. And so we moved quite around a lot. We moved around quite a bit while we were there. And sometimes the doors were open and be kind of one big space. Sometimes they were closed, really dependent on just the atmosphere at the time, who was practicing. People would come and go quite regularly, come for 3 months, or come for a few weeks, come for a month. So we moved around quite a bit as people came in and out. And my sense too that, and this was kind of all the head of practice made these decisions, and his or her while I was there, team of 3. And my sense too is that if they sensed we started to get too comfortable in our little space, they kind of switched us up, and there'd be a new arrangement. And so here's the taiko drum, and it was so we sleep. The men slept inside of the meditation hall, and this taiko drum was used during oryoki, during meals, during when we would eat meals in the meditation hall, and also to announce the time throughout the day. And so essentially one strike of the drum was 1 hour. Or so, for example, if you heard it one time, and this never happened, but that would be 1 a.m. And so at 4 a.m., the head of practice would strike the drum 4 times to announce it's 4 a.m., time to wake up. outside of 3 months training windows, that role rotated. And so it wasn't always the head of practice, but just whomever had been assigned that role. And so strike the drum 4 times, we wake up, we roll our futons. There's a kind of a cabinet at the foot of every tan, it's called, where we would sit meditation and sleep. And so we'd roll it up and tuck it away into the cubby there. I'm forgetting the name. And then get dressed, brush our teeth, wash our face, do our 3 prostrations, and then be back in there to sit by 4:20, because the head practitioner is doing the rounds, and then usually the Docho Roshi, the abbot of the temple, would come and do the rounds, kind of a morning greeting. But whoever was the most senior teacher, if the abbot was out, so we had to be back by 4:20 as best we could. It wasn't super strict if people kind of came in a little bit late, but it was noticed. There was a lot of things like that there. It was not, you might not everything. I mean, there were some things that was like noticed and you were told, and you would never do that thing again. But there were other things where you wouldn't be told, but it was noticed, and you would still never do the thing again because you can feel it, And so this is on the outside, one of the outside sides of the meditation hall. And so we're having a meal. This was during the Rohatsu Sesshin we did in December. And so here's a Japanese nun who came for a couple weeks to practice. This is an American monk from Minnesota Zen Center. There's me, and here's a monk from Greece who had just ordained about a day or two before coming and starting his monastic training at Toshoji. And at this point I had been there a few months, so I got to be the koso for these two, which is a very challenging and special experience, that kind of relationship. And yeah, so we prop this little table up, it folds down, and we have our oroki meals there. And in the soda, we didn't always eat in the soda, but this was a glimpse of what it looked like when we did. And this is called the kuin, and this is we were doing a rakusu, sewing sesshin. So we were sewing our rakusus here. And so we had it was a 5-day sesshin, and some people finished. I did not. I finished about 2 months later. Finished my rakusu. But anyway, and so yeah, sometimes we would have our meals here. We would sit and line up down here. Way down there was a small pond, koi pond. And this room, it could be partitioned off. And so sometimes we had lectures here when it was very cold, because we could make the room smaller using the doors, insert and take the doors out to change the dynamic of the room and kind of fit it to our needs. And so we'd put a kerosene heater in there sometimes when it was very cold, and have a lecture. We would have ink painting classes here and calligraphy classes, meetings when we had meetings. So this is a ink painting class, and so this is Gyosei-san, a nun from the Netherlands, and Giho-san, a monk from Japan who had just graduated from Komazawa University. He was my roommate that last month there. And so yeah, we had for this class, we had some instruction and then some designs that we could try to kind of emulate. And Giho-san was very talented. Calligraphy and ink painting. He was very talented. And so this is me and Keigo-san, the photographer, who took several of these pictures. And this is in the kitchen. You see who's doing all the work. No, he set the camera up and just wanted to capture a moment there. And so I spent quite maybe a couple months in the Tenzo Ryo as one of the cooks. About a month with Keigo-san. And so this is a moment there. Usually there were two Tenzos that we would work together to feed the Sangha. And so looks like dinner, yakuseki, which happened at 4:50 each day. Note on this, I remember I was really excited about, I made this like a homemade miso ginger honey dressing. All right. And it was but then after a senior monk came and said, you know how expensive honey is. And it was a whole thing. And so that was a one and done honey dressing, but it was very good, I think. We're entering the cat portion of the presentation. And so there was a family of 4 cats who made their home at Toshoji. And this is the sister, one of the sisters. And it was a very cold day, and she liked to hang out in there sometimes. So this is behind there is the Buddha Hall, or we called it the Hato, where we had the majority of our ceremonies there. This is brother Kudo-chan, our 3-legged friend here. He had an accident in the forest. I think the story I was told is his arm got crushed, maybe in a trap. So he ended up at Toshoji and took him to the vet where it's amputated. And here he is. He was the most like cuddly, chill, one of the chillest cats I ever met, with one of the most powerful voices I've ever experienced. I mean, I'm pretty convinced that he's in this cat body, but don't be deceived. I'm pretty sure he was some sort of guardian of the temple. So every now and then, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, he would just hear this like guttural, like not of this world noise, and it was Kudo-chan. And during the day, we would see him we had to really watch out for venomous snakes. During a few of the months, mamushi they're called, which can be very deadly. And there were, for about a week there, I would see at least a couple a day, and they kept to themselves. They were just living their lives. But we did have to be mindful, be careful of that, be attentive to that. Look where we were, just pay attention. It was just more incentive to practice, and there were many times when Kudo-chan would be kind of fending and fighting off a mamushi who had entered the temple. Remember one morning it was cold, but the mamushi was out, and Kudo-chan, it was the morning, it was early, we were getting ready for breakfast, and everybody's kind of, one person stops and is looking, and Kudo-chan's messing with something, and then we all we're looking out the window and trying to like get ready, the abbot's coming, so we have to be in there quiet before the abbot comes, so we're trying to catch this fight morning Kudo-chan and the snake. I had to put this in here. This is my brother Shingo-san, dear helpful friend. He was working on his master's at the Buddhist University, Komazawa University, and super knowledgeable. And whenever I had a question about a sutra or about a chant, about anything about Japanese, I would go to Shingo-san and he would give me a whole breakdown of what was going on. And so this is early morning temple cleaning. And I shared with him that I was going to show this picture to the Sangha. And he said, man, you're going to think I'm a lazy Japanese monk. So please don't think that he's not a lazy Japanese monk. He helps me a lot. Yeah, so this is in front. There you can see the wooden board that you knock on to enter the temple. You can kind of see a divot there from all the many people who have struck it. it's quite a significant dent. All the people who have come through.
When they go all the way through, they have a big party, right?
A party?
When you go all the way through the Han.
Oh, do they? Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's a
that.
big party with lots of sake.
Oh, dang. Well, I didn't get that.
Because they worked all the way through.
Yeah. I should have hit harder. I should have. There were some people came and hit it like another 3 times, another time. They were like, you know. But I just hit it 3 times. This is Unsenji. And so this is about an hour's drive from Toshoji. Deep winding mountain path to get there. And this is the temple where the abbot of Toshoji was born and raised. And he was he's the acting abbot, although he spent the majority of his time at Toshoji. He was the acting abbot here. And so every now and then a few of us would be sent to Unsenji either for a day or a few days to maybe do a memorial service, or this was taken during Obon, which is the time where many Japanese folk go to Buddhist temples to honor and welcome back their ancestors, and then send them back to the ancestral realm or wherever they go. And so we built an altar here, and myself, 2 other monks, and a nun spent about 4 days here cleaning. On the other side is the grave site, so tending to the graves and drawing the lines in the sand and just cleaning up the temple and getting it ready for these Obon ceremonies. Here's just another angle, another view of Unsenji. There's a phenomenon there called the Sea of Clouds, because it was way up on the mountaintop. And in the early morning, you're just looking out and you could see a sea of clouds, yeah, fortunate enough to got to experience that a couple times. Here's a statue of Ryokan, the Zen poet. And so this is at Ensuji, which is about a 20-minute drive from Toshoji. And the abbot of Ensuji is retired, and his niece is doing her training at Toshoji now. And so there's a connection there. And so it's a huge temple, beautiful temple. A lot of people come and visit. There's a very, very large Danka-san, it's called, kind of a congregation. So there's lots of memorial services, lots of ceremonies each month. But there are no practitioners who live there. And so oftentimes some of us from Toshoji would go to Ensuji for a day to help with memorial service or clean up, carry wood. They donated a lot of firewood to us at one point. Rake, clean up, that sort of thing. And so this statue is at the top of this mountain. And on the 18th of every month, they would do a ceremony honoring Kanon Bodhisattva, great compassion. And we would do this pilgrimage. Took maybe not so long, maybe 45 minutes. And we would go around to the different statues of deities. And there was usually a train of about 4 or 5 elder Japanese folk who would join us, and we would just offer incense and prayers at each of the deities. And this was right at the top, and then we would wind our way back down. This is Sojiji, which one of 2 main temples of the Soto Zen school in Japan, founded by Keizan Zenji, who's considered one of the founders. So here's Keigo-san, photographer friend. There's me, Sanshin-san, who's a monk from Switzerland, a dear friend, and a roommate. We were roommates several times. And Koko-san, a Japanese monk, dear brother, and Giho-san. And not pictured here though is Gyose-san, the nun, and she was so okay. Let me back up. So a few of us from Toshoji, us here in Gyosei-san, and one of the teachers at Toshoji, Kamada Koshi, went to Sojiji for about a week, and there were a group from 3 other monasteries in Japan, a group from Eiji, which is the other main temple, and then two other monasteries that I'm forgetting the name. And we stayed in a room together, and we did the formal entrance ceremony to become Sangha members, essentially, of Sojiji, and we basically lived as novice monks there for about a week to help out with the ceremonies. Last year was the 700th anniversary of Keizan Zenji, so there was a lot of movement and energy at this temple, and they just asked us to come and support, and also to just connect. So it was a great experience to, we would kind of after hours talk with the other monks. What's it like over there? What are y'all eating? How's the curry? Things like that. Do you get a real hosan? Do you get a real rest day? None of us really did. And Yosei-san was the only nun there. So she's not in this picture for whatever reason, I'm not sure. And she was the most senior of us, of the Toshoji group. And so she was essentially our representative. And so at the end of our stay, she met with the vice abbot and received from him a gift, thanking us for our time. And it was really special to be a part of that. So being here at Great Tree, and all the trailblazing that happens here, and then to be there for that with Gyosei-san, being recognized in that way, which is pretty rare still, was great. Really, really great. This I threw in picture. This is the temple. This is the main Buddha hall of a temple in Nagano Prefecture. And so myself and Koei-san, a monk from Brazil, and a brother from Brazil, we drove 11 hours to support Sanshin-san and the temple here, who is a Swiss monk. And so what was happening was the current abbot was retiring, and his son was stepping up in as the abbot. And they didn't have a head monk, and so they called on Toshoji and asked if there was someone who could do shuso, who could be the head monk to
do the mountain seat ceremony.
To do the mountain, yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
To do it, yes, exactly, to do the mountain seat. And so this is practice for the Hosen Shiki, the Dharma combat portion. And so I throw that in there because in a few months, that's all happening here. Yeah, and it's yeah. So it's exciting, and you can see the Benji here is young little dude. Yeah, and so Sanshin-san, I gotta throw this in here. So the end of the Dharma combat, you're yelling, it's very energetic and lively, and once you've defeated, quote unquote, your questioners, they say Jinjo, and you as the Shuso respond Banze, and you slam. The staff is called a shipe. You slam it down, and on the last one you do it twice. Jinjo Banze, Jinjo Banze, and you slam it down. And he slammed it down, and the shipe actually broke. And everybody was, huh? And there's the whole community's there, and everyone gathered, and it's a big spectacle, but it was great, and he got to keep the shipe because it was like, all right, you get to keep it. I guess them's the rules, I suppose. And this is the end, and so here's us in front of the Sanmon at Toshoji, the mountain gate. I stepped back onto the other side for the last time on December 15th, the full moon of December, after 9 months there in the sacred womb of Toshoji. And everybody comes out, sends you off. This is the family picture there. And not everyone, there's a few monks, I think, who are in Senji preparing for a New Year's festival. So not everyone's pictured here. But yeah, that's that. And then you exit, and you just continue. You you exit the monastery in a ceremony called Koka no Hai, and you yell, Koka yoroshu, essentially saying, my sense was that, it's thank you for having me. May I leave? Please, senses that, and then please continue here and then outside of here. Please continue to be with me. And the whole sangha response, dozo yoroshu. It's like, difficult to translate, but yes, yes,
Please.
please, please, yeah, please be well. And and when you enter, it's a similar thing. Instead of koka yoroshu, it's nyuro yoroshu. They say, just as big as you can. And the sense, once again, I got is that, yes, you're announcing yourself. Please take care of me. Please be with me. Please nourish me and practice with me too. Of course, all the brothers and sisters and all the practitioners there, all the family members, all the siblings, but also the temple itself, and the mountain, and all the beings who are there supporting the practice. And again, I don't know. I really don't know what it all is. But I really, when you're there, you're just there. You're just there. There's not room or even space or even the idea to zoom out. What is this? You're just there. And that's maybe a piece of it. You're just there and then you leave. And you don't really ever leave, and then you're just there again. And now I'm just here. And that's all. I think that's all. And there's more, and it's processing and stirring and bubbling. But I was just there, and now I'm here, and I don't know what time it is, not only because I was talking, but maybe we can just stop, and if anybody has just anything they want to say. I had prepared for this top side.
It says it right there on your computer.
Yeah, it does, you're right. Yeah, I had more to say and more I wanted to share, and in my head this was all a whole more cohesive thing, but here we are. So I apologize and just thank you for being with me here.
One of the things that I realized, at the last practice period, I was feeling, I want to, use this practice period to deepen my practice, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. And then now we're having a mini practice period, and I thought, okay, what's my intention? And I was like, deepen my practice, what does that mean? But then I realized that when I really thought about it, it was to go back to whatever it was that wherever that monastery experience took me. It was like, that's where I always refer back to that. Yeah, that's what I can't really describe it or tell you how it happened or anything like that. But when you were talking, it made me think about that. Somehow it gives us a baseline of practice that it gives us a place to return to,
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes when I totally feel that effect here, like this isn't a monastery, but I do feel like this is somewhat of a womb here as well. And I kind of wonder what the difference is. Like when I go home and I don't want to sweep my floors, but I come here and I'm like, okay, Teijo, I'll sweep your floors, no problem, right? It's like there's some difference, and I don't want there to be a difference because I don't think there's really anything different. But I wonder what it is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. like the same but different.
Yeah.
It is the same, and it's different, and it's the same.
I'm curious, how's your Japanese, and did you converse with people in Japanese, English?
Yeah.
And they hear.
Oh, did y'all hear the question? Your name will
John.
Yeah, John had asked how my Japanese was and if we conversed in Japanese or what. And my Japanese is decent. Can you know, I studied it a little bit in college. You know, it's helpful for a foundation, but you go there and it's like, well,
Yeah.
very different. But I could, yeah, over a few months it got better. And I could have basic conversations in Japanese. Usually there was a monk named Ite-san. He was from Kyrgyzstan and had been practicing at another monastery on Taiji for several years, and then was at Toshoji to do shuso and to support our practice there. And he was super fluent in English and Japanese, and he did a lot of helpful translations for us. And every now and then, if he wasn't there, I would step in and try to win my broken Japanese. Just, you know, if there was something being announced, tell the time or something very basic, very basic. But yeah, we tried to, things were mostly said in Japanese and in English. Not every morning, but on a normal morning, we would gather in the Buddha Hall and read a section of the Shobo Genzo Zui Monkey. We would read it in every language that we needed to. So Japanese usually first, English. At times we read it in Spanish when there were some Spanish speaking practitioners, German, French. So yeah, we tried our best to make sure everybody was there together. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Genjo lived in Japan in college, right? For
Mm-hmm.
about 9 months or
Mm-hmm.
10 months or something.
Yeah,
So you already had a little bit under your belt.
a little bit. Yeah, this was about a decade ago, so it was rusty, but it kind of came forward. Auntie Timio, I know you had jumped in there for a second. Good to see you.
No, I was just responding, and my responding is not really necessary, but I was going to respond to that that everywhere is sweeping the floor. And the difference, there's no difference, of course, but there is a holding in the monastery that I sort of remember and miss, because yeah, I still need some practice. Need a whole lot of practice. But that holding of a whole community coming together and sweeping the floor and cleaning the toilets and all of that I somehow drop when I'm alone. And it's hard to remember. The floor at Great Tree is the same floor at Shogoji, is the same floor at Toshoji, is the same floor right upstairs. You know, it's not different. And somehow the monastery, you know, like you say, condenses all that and allows me to know the feeling. And it's up to me when I step out and come back home to understand that I'm still held, that I'm sweeping the floor of the temple no matter where I am. You know, you make things special. It makes it, quote unquote, easier to do. Drop the special and remember, you know, that I sweep the floor for the folks at the temple so that the abbot, when she walks across, Avis, when she walks across the floor, doesn't get crunchies in her toes. Well, same thing upstairs. When the Avis walks across my floor, she will not get crunchies in her toes, whether she shows up or not. I don't know. I don't know, but there's a forgetting, that I don't know. And sometimes, and I keep saying this to people, the monastery gets into your body 90 days of again and again and again and again and again until it sinks in. Some people need more than 90 days. Some people need about 90 years. Some people need 90 years. But that's what it shows. And I can do that same practice right here. You can do that same practice in your living room. It's the same sweeping motion. Brooms work the same everywhere. So just keep doing it. Just keep trying. And remember, you're not doing it you're just doing. So blah, 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 blah. Shut up, Simone. Okay.
No, please keep going.
Maybe you
Thank you.
should take down the screen share.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize. Thank you. That the screen was still showing. Yeah, I mean, I think as you were saying that, one thing I know is one thing that was revealed and was that, oh yeah, like got a lot of work to do here. I need a lot of practice. It's
I'm so glad you know that because I've met some people in the mirror who who need to remember, and some other people, who I will not. Oh, come on, who I will not name, but I know this person in the mirror, and she don't know.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I know in this moment I'll forget. So please remind me. I'll get back into thinking I know things. It's always there.
What made you realize you don't know? Like after all this training, after all this studying, and now you're just like, okay, well, I don't know anything. Why do you know? Why are you so secure in that knowledge now?
Oh gosh, there it is. Uh-oh, you just threw me something. Yeah. Well, there's this feeling I have of I remember getting to Kotaiji, getting to the monastery, and getting, it felt like getting splashed with a cold bucket of water. It's like, wake up, where are you? And I realized in that moment, it was how I'm here a lot of times. I'm not here. And I had this idea because I've been practicing for 10 or so years that I knew something. But what is 10 years when you are here? What is 10 years? And when you're in the mountains, what is that? And there's just something too about being in a culture that's very different, and you're surrounded by a language that's different, where kind of jump starts something in a way. And yeah, there's forms and things that are different. I mean, speaking of the cold water too, at Kotaiji, we wake up in the morning also at 4 and immediately go with everybody to wash our face. And the water is very cold. You literally splashing your face with this cold water in the morning, wake up, be here, feel the water, be one with the water, one with the environment around you. You were 3 or 4 of us at a sink together, brushing our teeth. And normally I'm at a sink by myself, and I just spit the water out like it's nothing, like it doesn't matter. But you do that there, and it's splashing on the people around you. You just like, oh, not really here. I'm not really here a lot. Yeah. So that, and a part of that is because I'm thinking I know. I already know. I already know. What do I, you know? I've already brushed my teeth before, you know. I've already had a cup of tea before. I've already, you know, I've sat zazen before. I've bowed before. Um, but I haven't, you know, there is no before. There's just again and again, new every time, every time. And it's different. And it's the same. It's the same. Yeah. It's 11 o'clock.
Okay.
It's time. I think it's time. Yes.
We can go to sleep now.
Thank you. I'm like got tea in my body, green tea. And
The green tea, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I can sleep. That's a part of it. I was like, I don't even know what I need, but I do something. So anyway, you don't need to get, we'll chant.
Well, we're gonna make announcements.
Oh, okay.
Announcements, yes.
Yeah, I think I know.
So there, on this upcoming Wednesday, there's another full moon gathering. So that's at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. There's a sesshin, Nihon sesshin, starting next Saturday. Next Friday, sorry, next Friday. So there's still spots open, so if you'd like to register for a Nihon sesshin, please do that as soon as possible. And then next Saturday, we have Caroline Savannah Young, with the continuation of the Word of the Buddha. And this lecture is on the 3 pure precepts and the 10 great precepts. So that's next Saturday's Dharma talk. I'll also remind people that we are sort of gearing up for preparations for the mountain seed ceremony, which will involve a lot of work. So if you're local and you have some time to work and help us chip away at these projects, that would be really appreciated. So yeah, you can send me an email at info@greattreetemple.org if you're interested in helping. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, should you mention when the mountain seed ceremony is
Oh yeah, it's September 7th, 2025. So
this year?
of this, yeah, this upcoming year, yeah, September 7th. But yes.
Okay, thank you. May the merit of this practice
May the merit of this practice
benefit all beings,
benefit all beings
peace.
And bring peace.